was SI.com has a story out about North Carolina's chancellor and some text messages through the records request discussed potential ACC Pac-12 Super Conference. This is in a story by Mike McDaniel. According to a report from Andrew Carter, the News and Observer, who's the one that actually had the report, North Carolina leadership floated the idea of a super conference between the ACC and the Pac-12 amidst the decision by UCLA-USC this past summer to spurn the Pac-12 for the Big Ten beginning in 2024. Text messages. Should we explore a partnership with the Big 12 or Pac-12, said Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham to Chancellor Kevin Guskiewicz. We could have a super conference, both athletically and academically. Probably would need to be called the Atlantic Pacific Athletic Conference. Maybe that's crazy, but if it would get us a better TV deal, it may be worth considering. We need to think about the outcomes we want. What are our priorities? Do we want to maintain all teams in the ACC? Is this a new league? Should we play a national schedule, a regional schedule? On and on and on. So wouldn't you love to get all the text messages from ADs and presidents during that time? They just got one.
It'd be fascinating. And academically, holy cow. I mean, Stanford, Cal, Oregon, Washington, all on the one side, and then you throw in Duke, UNC, Virginia, Georgia Tech. Like that's a lot of big libraries right there. I mean, that's a lot of good academic schools. And I know I'm leaving some out and not intentionally, but that would be one heck of a, endowment-sized, league. I just don't know how much, if they did that, I mean, maybe it would, but how many matchups in that conference in any sport would really get you that excited? Would Colorado versus
nobody? I don't care. Yeah. That's like probably the worst example to use, honestly. But yeah, no.
Maybe the best example too. Yeah, exactly.
But would Florida State versus Cal? Would Clemson? No. Would Clemson versus Utah? Well, maybe now, but actually, that one actually, I probably just throwing that. But Arizona versus Clemson? No, not really. So what do you create? Are you creating something?
Is USC Rutgers?
No, but again, and then the Big Ten is going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
That is something good, but I don't know if there's much interest in the fan bases, and then you got to ask about your actual fan bases. Are the fan bases your schools going to be excited about giving up some of their non-con games with more regional teams to go play Oregon State? I don't know. Is Oregon State going to be happy about going to Georgia Tech? Are you really going to make that much more money? Because I think if you would, maybe you could.
Yeah, that's interesting that there was that discussion, but not surprising.
I mean, of course they're talking about what they're going to do. I just think it's interesting to see the text messages that are out there and to actually see that there is this discussion going on. I mean, everybody's, I wonder what the ACC wants to do and predicting, if you really look back on some of the speculation about realignment that's been out there from probably the same 4 or 5 places, you really go and check people on what they've said. The record doesn't look great, but, we all just move on day by day and just kind of let the things vanish from our heads. But yeah, there was a faction that was discussing the ACC getting out of this grant of rights. And, if enough teams leave and it falters and it falls apart and all of that, we all have our crazy ideas is the point. And to know that behind the scenes that, the ACC sitting there going what about an alliance with the Pac-12? I think that's interesting to see that and to see them speculating basically the same way that fans and realignment heads are, and they're doing it with skins in the game. I mean, they're actually, Bubba Cunningham's trying to figure out if that's really the best for the future of his athletics department. And so we're asking those questions, and people can, ha-ha about realignment or whatever, but here's the freaking 80 at North Carolina talking about, potentially this national super conference joining together with Oregon and Washington, if they're still there, and the remaining schools in the pack outside of the LA schools, post USC and UCLA. I think that's really interesting. And, I don't know how many others will get like this as far as uncovering those who have debated on what could happen. But, North Carolina.
I want to see the text messages prior to those. Yeah. Did you see the blanket?
Well, yeah, that would actually be great. I'd love to get all the Big 12 messages the day Oklahoma and Texas announced that they were going to they didn't announce actually that it was just announced that they were going to the SEC. But yeah, North Carolina's been one of those teams that's been rumored to go to every single conference that's open for business. So an alliance with the Pac, staying in the ACC, going to the Big Ten, going to the SEC in a few years. Literally, they've been rumored everywhere but the Big 12. So, yeah, they're thinking about it. I don't know how much there's actually to it, but they're thinking about it and talking about it just like everybody else. So I do think that's interesting.
All right, 422 is the